Today we mourn the passing of a long-lost friend. All across America, we see that an iconic symbol is being shut down. A bright, shining beacon of multiple generations of childhood. A beacon of nostalgia. What I'm speaking about is Chuck E. Cheese. Yes, that gross, disgusting pizza parlor with shoddy arcade games and that oh-so-familiar and terrifying, singing animatronic rat. But my friends, did you know that Chuck E. Cheese made a movie? Today on FraudOnTheTele, join me as we stroll down memory lane as I tell you the story of Chuck E. Cheese in the Galaxy 5000. Our story begins in a Chuck E. Cheese restaurant. Chucky and the gang are having a good time when they're brought together for a meeting by the unnecessarily stereotypical Italian and chef of Chuck E. Cheese, Pasquale.
He need the cash, not the deer. He needed cash.
Oh. Pasquale informs the gang that a little boy who he knows named Charlie Rocket needs their help. You see, Charlie's aunt and uncle are farmers, but they have a problem. Their tractor is broken, and it's gonna take $50,000 to fix it. Now, for some reason, the responsibility of fixing said tractor and collecting the $50,000 seems to come to our little friend, Charlie here. What, a boy no older than probably 10 or 11 years old. The gang have no idea how they're gonna get all this money, but you see, Pasquale has a plan. He tells them all of an intergalactic race that takes place every year where the grand prize for winning is somewhere around $50,000. Man, isn't that convenient? Pasquale tells them that he used to actually compete in this race and he won it multiple times, and that they can use his space rocket thing in which he raced in. For lack of a better words, let's just call it a pod racer. It's here we get our first musical number. Yes, this is a musical movie, by the way, which, you know, does kind of make sense when you remember that singing and dancing kind of became the whole Chuck E. Cheese gang's thing over time. After this really awkward musical number, some really bad dancing, and some classic 90s green screen action, the gang are transported to another planet, where they will take part in the race. Here's where things continue to get oddly familiar. You see, this movie just so happened to be released in October 1999, around 6 months after the release of Star Wars Phantom Menace. You know, the Star Wars movie with the pod racers that kids absolutely lost their shit over. Yeah, expect a lot of Phantom Menace and Star Wars parallels going on here. Our gang arrive on the racing planet. We get our first scene of sexual tension between Chucky and Helen the chick. I never knew this as a kid, but apparently there's some sexual tension here.
Oh, ooh. Hi.
Ooh, Chucky!
From here, the gang meet Pasquale's old co-pilot, Flapjack, as well as the machine that they're gonna be racing in. And wow, is it a hunk of junk. After this, we get probably my favorite scene of the entire cluster of a movie. Chucky and the gang are greeted by this blonde girl named Astrid, a girl who just wants to hang out with the best racers. I believe we call these groupies where I'm from. She starts flirting with our animatronic animal suit friends, pissing Helen off, who Chucky in these scenes hard friend zones, calling her just one of the guys.
Bye, Chucky. I was going to see if you'd come to the soda shop with me after the qualifier tomorrow, but I didn't know that you were taken.
Oh, you mean Helen? Oh, wait. She's just a friend. You know, she's like one of the guys. Right, Helen?
Ouch. You really hate to see it. This movie is a hilarious product of its time, and I think that many of these scenes were put in as kind of inside jokes for the parents. We have to remember that these movies were shown in Chuck E. Cheese's all across America, and parents are going to be forced to sit there with their children and watch the movies. There's probably going to be some entertainment and some laughs that are there just for them. I mean, just look at how corny our group of characters are watching Astrid walk away.
Wait, Chucky, you sly dog. Way to go.
From here, we meet our antagonists, the ex-pilots, a couple of muscled-up dudes in tights sporting fake German accents.
How would you like to roost at our pod?
Ah, poor Germans, man. They seem to always get the short end of the stick, don't they? After this, the racers do a preliminary run of the course. Chucky and the gang's racer pod thing failing to start, another little Phantom Menace reference here. During this preliminary race, we see that the X-Racers do not play nice, smashing into Chucky's ship, but it's this scene here that really just shows how bad that they are.
Here comes the truth.
Yep, that's right, these dudes are huffing some performance-enhancing drug that seems to allow them to see better at higher speeds, I guess? I really do love how they very obviously are huffing this stuff, and it seems like it's getting them high. Man, the 90s were a different time. All of the huffing and doping are just absolutely hilarious to me, and I have to be honest, these two characters and their piss-poor German accents were a continued source of comedic relief for me as I watched this cluster. Afterwards, the gang head to a soda shop hangout, I guess. Chucky is feeling down when Helen, the chick, walks in with the weird fake German guy, seemingly trying to make Chucky jealous, I guess. Oh yeah, and this guy also laughs so hard that he pees himself. From here, we get easily the best musical number of this entire movie. Most of them are straight up ass and cringe and awkward, but this one was actually clever and actually kind of hits a little bit, as the dog character Jasper sings his song Snowball's Chance in Texas, basically saying that they have no chance in hell of winning this race.
There ain't nothing we can do. We got a snowball's chance in Texas to win this race.
Next, we follow Helen and the German goons to Dr. Zoom's warehouse, where Helen tricks them into telling her about the Zoom gas, the drug that makes them be able to drive fast. The true antagonist then enters the scene, Dr. Zoom, the inventor of the Zoom gas. After probably the worst musical number of the entire movie, God, this shit was ass, Dr. Zoom orders his goons to lock Helen up because she knows too much. And I guess unfortunately for her, the Zoom gas is made from chicken extract. I don't even try to explain how that's a thing, because I guess just of course it is. And Dr. Zoom is going to turn Helen the chicken into Zoom gas. With the big race the next day, Chucky decides to practice making his way through the hardest section of the race, Dead Man's Canyon. Another pretty obvious reference to Phantom Menace. But while practicing, Chucky crashes his ship. He wakes up finding himself in a cave where he was saved by a strange hermit with a really bad Scottish accent.
Well, what did you do to prepare for the race? What the kind of training did you do?
The hermit, after speaking to Chucky, decides to train him to reach his full potential Yoda style. In case you were wondering, yes, the hermit with the fake Scottish accent is literally just Pasquale, the fake Italian guy from the beginning of the movie in disguise. I know, some crazy level plot twists going on here. After a training montage and another musical number, Chucky finally feels ready to race at high speeds. Meanwhile, Helen has managed to escape from her cage, bopping Dr. Zoom in the process. Back at the soda store, Astrid, the fangirl, decides to drop Chucky, who is nowhere to be found, for the German X guys. To which our little human pal Charlie says,
Who'd have figured?
Not me.
Jasper, this must be one of those girl things again, huh?
Chucky returns in time just for the big race. After a series of unfortunate events, Chucky and the gang find themselves in last place. Chucky using his training to be able to control the insanely fast Vega 3 speeds, whatever the heck that means. The group narrowly winning the race, having collected the money for Charlie, Chucky starts another really bad musical number while Dr. Zoom and the X-Boys are taken to prison. The end. All in all, the Chuck E. Cheese movie was an absolute fever dreams, and one of those works of media that you can't even believe actually exists and was actually made. It's surprising how many people worked on this movie that actually would go on to be successful in the media, in Hollywood, in show business. I mean, the voice of the character Munch was literally Christopher Sabat, you know, the voice of Vegeta in Piccolo. Like, man, if I ever see this dude at a Comic-Con-esque event, you best believe I'm gonna ask him about his experience in the Chuck E. Cheese movie, as I can only imagine the stories that he could tell from the filming of this gem of a movie. And yes, that was the story of Chuck E. Cheese in the Galaxy 5000, one of the weirdest pieces of media to come out of the 90s, a period that in many ways was defined by its outrageous media. Let me know in the comments down below, what did you think of the Chuck E. Cheese movie? Have you seen this movie? Did you see this movie when you were a kid at Chuck E. Cheese? Because I have some very vague memories of seeing this absolute cluster live and in person when I was just a wee little lad. As always, guys, I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace, love, Adu.
We became numb to the yapping. It was like 05, got my license to drive. Picked you up in my pop's car, went for a ride. Couldn't no one tell us nothing. That night was ours. All the stars aligned and you were so damn fine. Yeah, it was young love. Young hearts were so pure. We trust love is so hard to endure. A few years passed, made the